Hey everybody, I'm here today to go over some steering wheel hand positions with you. This will be a driving lesson and I'll be outlining some options for hand positioning on the steering wheel. I'll be going over what each hand position entails, and also I'll be going over the benefits and sort of downsides of each hand position. Now let's get right to it. Firstly, I want you to imagine the steering wheel as a clock. Now on a clock, on an analog clock, there are hour markings. So we would have 12 o'clock here, let's say 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and so forth. So when I'm describing the various hand positions, I want you to imagine it as a clock. It will make it easier for you to figure it out on your own steering wheel, okay? Now the first hand position that I'll be going over is by far the most common one, and that is the 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock hand positioning on the steering wheel. So if you imagine that this is 12 o'clock right here, we have on the right side over here 2 o'clock. So we have 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock right about here, and then on the left side we have 10 o'clock right about here. Now, a few benefits of the 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock hand positioning is simply that it allows you to have a lot of control over the steering wheel. You can use different steering methods like the hand over hand method. You can also use the push-pull method while you're holding the steering wheel at 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock. So it allows a lot of versatility. It also allows for a lot of control and balance because you have your hands equally spaced from the top center. From the 12 o'clock position, they're equally spaced. So it's a nice balanced approach. It allows you to have nice versatility and control when you're switching lanes, even when you're veering to the right or veering to the left on a turn. It just allows you to have a lot of control. It's a nice versatile hand position for your steering and for driving, whether you're taking a turn or you're simply driving down a lane trying to stay centered, or you're veering right or veering left. Whatever you're doing, this hand position will work, and it's very versatile. That's why it's by far, in my opinion, the most common from what I see on a day-to-day basis with drivers around me. Now the next one is a slight variation. It is the 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock steering position. So once again, we have 12 o'clock. If we go 1, 2, 3 o'clock, we can also get the opposite here, 9 o'clock, 9 and 3. Now, it offers the same level of versatility as the 10 and 2 steering position, simply because you can still do hand over hand, you can still do the push-pull method. Okay, you can veer to the right, veer to the left, you can take turns, switch lanes, you can do whatever you want with this steering position. The benefit of this is that you're closer to your levers. So you have your turn signal lever right over here. You're much closer and able to use it without taking your hand off the steering wheel. When you're up here, it's really hard for me to reach that. But when I'm at the 10 and 2, I can't really reach that lever. But when I'm at 9 and 3, I can just activate my high beams, my turn signals, my windshield wipers, just like that, without removing my hands from the steering wheel. Also, it allows me to access these steering wheel controls easily. If your steering wheel has hand controls, chances are the 9 and 3 position will allow you to access those controls. But the downside is that I'm not getting complete grip of the steering wheel. You can see my hands are resting like this, basically. Whereas like this, I get a complete grip around the steering wheel. I'm able to close my hands around it. Like this, I'm just sort of gripping it like this, okay? So I'm not getting a full grip. That's the downside of that. The next steering position, the next hand position for steering that I want to go over is the one-handed position. And this is the most common one-handed driving position, and that's just the 12 o'clock position. Right here, as you can see, we have 12 o'clock on the steering wheel, okay? Now, if you are switching gears, if you're driving a manual car with one hand, or adjusting your climate controls, or adjusting any other functions on the center console over here, or even drinking a coffee, whatever the case is, then you're gonna have to know how to steer with one hand. I recommend steering with 2 hands as often as possible, but the fact of the matter is that if you're driving on a day-to-day basis, you are going to have to steer with one hand from time to time. And the 12 o'clock steering pattern for one-handed steering is the best in my opinion, because it gives you a nice balanced approach right here, and it allows you to easily veer to the right, veer to the left. You can steer like this by palming the steering wheel, and I've outlined this in many different videos. Okay, you can steer around a turn like that if you need to. You can switch lanes if you need to, and it just allows you to be very versatile, okay? And it allows you to also only have one hand on the wheel. Now, like I said, I recommend that you drive with 2 hands on the wheel as often as possible, but sometimes you're gonna have to drive with one hand on the wheel. It's just the way that it is. Now, a variation of that is usually the 12:30 or 1 o'clock hand position. Now, if you have the 12 o'clock hand position, your hand's right in the center. Now, this is the best in terms of balance and control, but what happens is some people get uncomfortable driving like this. Or the way that some cars are designed, some people just like to have their hand a little bit towards the 12:30 or 1 o'clock position, which is either here or here. Now, if you're driving like this, it offers less control because you're not balanced, but you might not get cramps on your hand or your shoulder or your back, whatever area is cramping. This might save you from those areas cramping, and you're still getting a lot of control over your steering. It's still a very controllable method of steering, okay? So it's not that it doesn't offer a lot of control. It offers slightly less than the 12 o'clock position, but it might remove the cramps, and it might make things easier for you as a driver if you're on the road for many hours per day. Now, the last steering method that I want to go over is one that involves holding the steering wheel at the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to lift it up just a little bit, just to give you a better view, just like that. Now, some people like to rest their arms on, you know, the resting areas of the car, like the door panel or the center console, okay? And if the steering wheel was lower, like I had it before, and I wanted to hold on to it while resting my elbows, I would have to grab it from the bottom, okay? So I'll just move it up just to show you. Basically, you want to grab it wherever it makes sense for your arm resting positions. So this is the 6 o'clock position down here. Now, I recommend grabbing it equidistant from the 6 o'clock position at the bottom of the steering wheel. So once again, you have 6 o'clock right here. Now you have 5 o'clock here, and I would recommend grabbing it somewhere around the 5 o'clock or the 4:30 range, and then the equivalent on the other side, which would be the 7 o'clock or the 7:30 range. So anywhere within these two areas right here is a good way to grab the steering wheel. Now, if I had the steering wheel lower, like I had it before, and if I had it also like telescoped out, if I was a little bit closer to the steering wheel, then this would be the ideal position, because I could then steer like this. Now, the upside is that it allows your elbows to rest. So if you're on the highway, you're on a road trip, you're driving on the highway for, you know, any amount of time that's an extended period of time, and you want to remain comfortable, and you know that you're not turning, you're not really doing anything other than driving straight, switching lanes, and maybe, you know, veering a little bit to the right or the left as the highway curves, you can drive like this. It offers the control that you need. And if you need to, you always have control to move the steering wheel. But if you're driving on a main road or on side streets and you're constantly turning, this isn't going to work for you as well, because, you know, it's not an ideal way to turn. Like I said, you can turn if you need to, but it's not an ideal way to turn the car. It doesn't offer a ton of control. So with that being said, this is, in my opinion, this bottom steering wheel hand position is just more for highway driving and driving, you know, in a straight line for long periods of time without turning and with only minor curves in the road, or maybe lane changes included in that as well. And that's basically it. In this video, I just wanted to go over some different options for hand positioning on the steering wheel. Each of these hand positions has certain benefits and certain downsides, and I just wanted to go over them with you in this video. I've used all of these hand positions because I feel like they all have a place in certain areas and situations of driving. So use them accordingly, and remember, just use the hand position that is the safest for the situation that you're driving in or for the condition that you're driving in. And that's really it. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you think down below as a comment. What is your favorite hand position on the steering wheel for driving? Let me know as a comment down below. And of course, be sure to subscribe for more great car and driving videos just like this one. And that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching.